got an error code about a side feed, and it's like I've tore into it, but I can't get it to do it. So.
Okay.
We're live on Facebook or on YouTube.
Hi, Rochelle.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We are live.
Oh.
We are all set to go. Got Jake, I got Tommy, I got Rochelle, Kathy Sue, Derek. Did I see Gary? There's Gary. All right. I think we're all set. Good evening, everyone. I call to order the May 20th, 2021 Board of Commissioners regular session. In accordance with Section 3 of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, the clerk will note for the record that this meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to a local declaration of emergency adopted by the Board of Commissioners on March 18th, 2020 and extended on October 15th, 2020. All members are attending remotely and with video activated. During the roll call, each member will indicate if they are currently located in Calhoun County or if not, the county, city, village, township, or the state from which they are attending this meeting remotely. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Steve Frisbee,
Present.
Commissioner Derek King,
Resco.
Commissioner Tommy Miller,
Present, Ringo Township.
Commissioner Gary Tompkins,
Present, Homer Township.
Commissioner Kathy Sue Petty,
Here, Battle Creek.
Commissioner Rochelle Hatcher,
Present, Battle Creek, District 2.
Commissioner Jake Smith.
Present, Battle Creek.
We have quorum.
And I forgot to say Battle Creek, sorry. All right, after a moment of silence, I'll have Commissioner Vetty lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. They have a motion to approve the May 20th, 2021 Board of Commissioners regular session as presented.
So moved,
moved.
Hatcher.
Support, Betty.
Hatcher and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners May 6, 2021 regular session as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support, Hatcher.
Tompkins and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Someone has a hand up. Me? Nobody else. Okay. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is citizens' time. During citizens' time, the board chair shall recognize any person wishing to address the board. A person recognized by the chair shall call in and state his or her name and community of residence. A person may address the board only once on the same matter during each period set aside for citizens' time on the agenda and only on matters that are relevant to county government. The chair shall control the length of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes, and shall not allow negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in. as the background sound will generate feedback. There's an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Anybody in the queue? Nope. Thank you for the note. All right, about another 30 seconds or less. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on. Elected and appointed county officials' comments. Are there any county officials that would like to speak this evening? No one? All right, we have no special order of business. We do have a consent agenda with 3 items. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda as for May 20th, 2021 Board of Commissioners regular session as presented.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Hatch.
Rochelle and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, Hatcher and Miller, excuse me. One first name, one last. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
That's 7 yes.
Motion carries. Special committee workshops and board reports.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vice Chair, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Had a few meetings that have taken place. First and foremost, the Senior Millage Allocation Committee met on May 7th. We heard some presentations and updates from the 2020 senior strategic projects that we approved. One from Tricia Franson on the Albion Community Gardens expansion, and the second being Rod Otten on the Albion Healthcare Alliance eye equipment for Albion location. Those are important because we get to actually see some of the progress that's being made with those senior strategic projects, in fact, that we approved. So good to see those communications. We also, as a also approved the subcommittee's recommendation on Linda Gropp, retired from Senior Health Partners, to be awarded the Joanne Conkle Leadership Award. And also, too, with respect to the 2021 senior strategic projects that we've been going over and recommending for, we did recommend for approval the Albion Community Table Food Distribution location, as well as though we did table the recommendation to fund the Heritage Commons renovations from the subcommittee, pending some further information to be had. So we'll be able to be broaching that at our June 4th meeting. And then finally, relative to that committee, we approved several mini grants, one for the Albion Community Gardens, one for the Lee Township Senior Social, which is a very important one relative to rural townships becoming very involved, certainly in getting having senior programming. The Albion Healthcare Alliance, and the East End Studio Senior Art Classes, which is also very important. So we also, on May 11th, the Homer Lake Board met. Blake Mallory from PLM was on hand to provide a preliminary view of the lake and what the plan is for spraying for the year. Typically, we provide anywhere from 3 to 4 sprays a year. However, this year, prior to that meeting, as you well know, it had been quite cool, so it was difficult to get a survey and actually see what was going on. But obviously, within the last couple of days here, we're going to see some pretty good blooming. And then we also reviewed the budget, which just basically shows us in continued good financial shape, as well as paying off the balance of our loan approximately 9 years in advance. So very, very positive there. The Calhoun County Solid Waste Advisory Committee was scheduled to meet on May 19th, but was canceled due to a lack of agenda items. And then finally, Myself, as well as Commissioner Jake Smith, both serve on the newly founded Calhoun County Broadband Task Force meeting that was May 18th. Lucy Blair was there to kind of give us the feel and kind of work us through the initial steps. Certainly, we talked about the overview of the general plans, also the discussion of task force goals and objectives, and then just got a chance to really get to know each other a little bit more detail as we embark on what will be a very interesting road going forward. So again, lots of committees that I've been a part of, so it's great to be able to report those. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Chair Frisbee.
Yes.
Hi there, this is Commissioner Vetty. Last Tuesday, the Visitor and Convention Bureau met, and we put together a option to help out with the, I believe they're still calling it this, the McCamley Hotel downtown through through Battle Creek Unlimited, and over a stretch of time, we are going to be able to give back funds from the county that is about $400,000. So, and that's like off of the hotel tax money that we receive. So I just wanted to report that. Thought that was a really good choice.
Yes. Thank you. Commissioner King.
Thank you. The local revenue sharing board met. I'm sure Kelly is going to talk about it too. I don't have all the details in front of me. Ultimately, we approved the checks to go out. We approved the agreement with the local revenue sharing board in the county that provides the administrative and, you know, auditing and that kind of thing. We line up. The amount of money was down a little bit, clearly because of COVID, but it wasn't too bad. Most of the places that really rely on those funds budgeted a little bit less amount anyway. So it's not looking like we're going to have the grant opportunity this year. It's just, that's always a big question that we get. However, those funds are getting dispersed. I wouldn't be surprised if the checks are heading out in June at some time. Kelly can fill in what I left.
Thank you. Anybody else? Right. The 911, we had a special meeting on Monday, formed a search committee. I told you I would be part of that. Began the process. Looks like we're going to follow the same process as we did in 2016, which includes a public event to meet all of the final candidates. So as that progresses along, I'll keep you informed. And if there is an opportunity for you to participate, certainly invite you to do that. And then a reminder that next Friday on the 28th at 8:30, we will be meeting to discuss the American Rescue Fund priorities. Do have a tentative agenda for that meeting. So we'll get that out just as early as we can, probably tomorrow would be my guess. And look forward to seeing everybody on next Friday. So anybody else? All right, we'll move along. We don't have any unfinished business. So now I'll turn it over for new business and County Administrator's report. Kelly Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll fill in a couple of the blanks on the boards and committees. As Derek mentioned, the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board is at the point where they've basically approved all of the formulas for allocation of the funds for this year. We had about $4.9 million to work with. It was a 16% drop from last year's net win income, just because the casino was closed for about 3 months last year. So, you know, the 4.9 million is still a lot. And the next meeting is on, I think it's June 4. And at that point, the board should be in a position where we can get all of the checks to our local governments, including the school districts that have June 30th fiscal year shortly thereafter. So just happy that, you know, COVID didn't have a larger impact on the casino's ability to provide funding to our local governments. One thing I wanted to mention to add on to Gary's report of the broadband task force is that following our first meeting of the task force, our internal staff had our first kickoff meeting with the Michigan Merit Network. So the board approved the county to contract with them to do the data collection to figure out really what gaps we have in sufficient internet access for our county residents. So that timeline looks like over the summer, they will be launching a survey, and the survey will be in different formats depending on what access our residents have, and we'll be producing that in different languages, but it will be everything from mail to text messaging to email. And then we're hopeful by the fall, maybe October, to bring the results of that survey back to the board. And at the same time, we'll be quickly working on the second piece of that, which is a financial feasibility study for, you know, what it takes to get providers to step up and actually provide those services and build out the infrastructure. So there will be a lot going on over the next 6 months with the broadband task force. And I want to thank Commissioners Tompkins and Smith for participating and Lucy Blair for taking the lead, and then Mac McCullough from Willard Library being the chair for that. So pretty exciting project, and I'm really happy to see that the federal and state governments are beginning to see the importance of not just leaving it to the local governments, but providing state and local or state and national funding for broadband access. So that is going on. Finally, I just want to from a COVID response and reopening plan standpoint where the county is at in response to the CDC's updated guidance on May 13, and then the MDHHS renewal of their masks and gatherings order. The county will no longer, pretty much effectively right now, we will no longer require our staff or guests who are fully vaccinated for COVID-19 to wear masks within our county buildings. This does not apply to the courts. The courts are under different guidance from the State Court Administrative Office, and they have chosen still to keep the mask mandate in place until there's further guidance from the state, basically with the understanding that they're not able to tell who's been vaccinated and who's not, and they're not happy with the level of risk that presents. But for all of our other buildings, all of our other offices, county employees and visitors who come to our buildings will not be required to wear masks as long as they've been fully vaccinated. And so we'll be posting those updated policies and signage. Hopefully Monday, we're expecting to see the new MIOSHA emergency rules on Monday. That's really the final piece that will put this all together. And we're just trying to make sure and understand what other requirements MIOSHA might keep in place or modify. So that's a good sign that things are progressing. We definitely consulted with our local public health officer, Eric Pessel, and our legal counsel, Jim Dyer, and really think that we're in a good place to make this progression, knowing that it's a statement of the confidence in the vaccine, and hopefully it encourages our employees and our residents to get vaccinated, because then they have that protection. So we won't be asking our visitors whether they've been vaccinated. We've got protocol in place through our screening tools for employees where they're basically certifying that they will comply with the policy. And so we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis if someone is not in compliance. So our employees that are not vaccinated will still need to be wearing masks and continue to socially distance. Those of us that are fully vaccinated will not. So I think that's really good news. And then just a reminder, and based on a question that came from Commissioner King today, we no longer have a temporary policy that we put in place last March for our employees based on the federal law that provided free time off for COVID sickness or for quarantine or isolation orders. So what that means is now if our employees become sick with COVID or they're required to be quarantined by the health department, that we still have our normal leave policies in place, but they will essentially, if they're not sick, they test positive, but they're not sick, they can still work remotely if that's an option for that position. If not, then they will be required to use their paid time off bank or another type of paid or unpaid leave. So just to clarify that. And the theory is we don't need that policy in place anymore because all of our employees were given the opportunity to be vaccinated. We're not mandating it. It's a personal choice. But, you know, having said that, because of the ability to be vaccinated, we're basically treating it like any other sickness, and we're allowing them to use the various other options they have for their leave time.
Mr. King, you have a question?
Yes. So what constitutes the court's jurisdiction on the justice centers? If somebody's going there for something that's not court related, not going in a courtroom, can they go maskless?
I would say yes. So the county has instituted the policy about the facility itself. We have jurisdiction over the facilities, but if you're going into, I would say, the court areas, so either the public area or the courtrooms themselves, that's where the courts have jurisdiction over. So if you're going to, let's say, the prosecutor's office or the clerk's office, the treasurer's office within the justice center, or to the sheriff's office, those would fall under the county's policies of those employees and visitors who are vaccinated do not need to wear masks.
Thank you.
What did you say the effective date is, Kelly?
It's immediate. It's coming out in my report tonight. We're still, it'll be a day or two before you'll see the signage change, but we're announcing it right now, along with a lot of other employers. And so, knowing that our employees and our residents are interacting with all kinds of businesses right now that have removed the mask mandate. And so we're really just, following suit with kind of the best practice.
Very confusing right now because some of us have to follow those and some of us have to follow CDC and some of us have to follow MIOSHA. It's just a very confusing time for some people.
It is. And what we're really stressing is that it's a personal decision to get vaccinated. It's also a personal decision for any of our employees and any of our visitors to continue to wear masks if they don't feel comfortable. It's perfectly fine to continue to distance yourself from others if you are a county employee that has a public facing job, and you're not comfortable when you see someone come in without a mask and you don't know if they're vaccinated. We still have all of the tools in place. We have really done a good job, I think, providing our employees with the tools to protect themselves. And so those are all options that we still have.
Thank you. Commissioner King, do you have any other question?
If you said Commissioner King, no, I'm good.
Your hand's still up, so I just wondered. Your arm's gonna be really tired in the morning. All right, anybody else? Any questions? Great. Let's roll.
And then, yes, we will publish and send out the agenda tomorrow for next Friday's workshop on the American Rescue Plan Act. So looking forward to that discussion. So for new business tonight, we just have 4 items. The first one, item 12B1, is a proposal for you to approve a contract with a credit card processing vendor called GovPros. And they are out of Detroit, Michigan. We're recommending a 5-year contract. And this is not a cost item for the county. It's actually a little bit of a revenue generator. But we believe that it's in the best interest to have this contract approved by the board and on the books. It's a project that has really been in the works for several years. We had different departments and the courts and the elected officials using different vendors for when customers go to our website and want to make payments online for everything from fines and obligations to payments for optional services and products that they're ordering. And so we really have been wanting for several years to create some consistency, and our goals were to try to get the lowest fees for our residents and potentially some cost recovery for the county, and obviously customer service support for our employees and the ability for our residents to interact with this system. We're really high values. Kudos to Brad Wilcox, who's been trying to spearhead this project for years. I know he will be relieved to have it finally implemented. I'll turn it over to Brad for questions, but I just want to reiterate that the goals here that I am really happy to see that we've achieved with GovPros. I'm very optimistic about their level of ability to protect the county against fraudulent transactions because of their sophisticated IT system, their ability to provide phone support. This is a convenience item. No one at the county, none of our residents have to pay things online, but if they want to, this is an option. And it really, it will lower the fees based on what they've been charged for some departments to pay everything from property taxes to ordering vital records. So very happy to see this. Our estimated revenue is about $30,000. And again, we're recommending a 5-year contract after, I think it's been a couple of years of going through a competitive bidding process. So recommending approval. And again, Brad's here to answer the tough questions.
A motion. Can I have a motion to approve the contract with GovPros for the countywide payment processing as presented?
So moved. Smith.
Support King.
Smith and King, is there any discussion? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is great anytime we can offer more opportunities and accessibility options for folks. I'm only curious is there any opportunity to collaborate with some of the especially smaller municipalities in the area, townships, villages that might be able to leverage this as well?
Can I, Commissioner Smith, this is Brian Winsauer,
Hey, Brian.
and I just wanted to mention, Kelly had mentioned that the treasurer office is still in the judicial building, and that is not correct now. We have moved out officially, and GovPros is going to be a kiosk. We're going to be replacing workstation there with a kiosk. We're going to also be looking at these kiosks, and this is where I'm glad Brad Wilcox worked with us, and we'll be able to put these in places like Albion so people do not have to come over to areas. At some point, we're not today, but at some point this may be able to even do cash. That's a long ways down. I'm just going to say that the technology is there today. Not something we want to try today, but just keep in mind, they can put these things in Meyer markets. A lot of the GovPro kiosks are actually in different retail places. You can go in and do a lot of county business through credit cards and et cetera. So I'm really pleased and very happy that the team that worked on this did a good job. And just want to say, as the treasurer, we have 2.9 million or 2.2 million at least of the credit card bill receipts to the 2.9 million. So we're kind of like the tail wagging the dog, and I'm very pleased and just wanted to express that to you, the commissioners. Thank you.
And I would add, Jake, that I do think it's one of those items that especially when we meet with the city managers and mayors, that we can mention. Another project that we're doing is selecting the new financial software, HR and finance software. And for example, we just shared that information with the city of Battle Creek as far as the RFP and how we narrowed down the choices. So I do think there's the opportunity to share what we've selected and, contact GovPros if any of the other local governments within the county are interested in that, and seeing if we can leverage the pricing that Brad was able to negotiate.
Absolutely. And that's what I was getting at. And thanks, Brad and Kelly, for your work on it. That's really what I was getting at, though, those opportunities. So yeah, great. Thank you very much.
So I put my hand up on purpose. Yeah. Can I go? All right. I'm just curious why we need a long-term contract like this. Why they're paying us I would assume that, let's say they're charging 2.5% and I can't remember what it is, but they charge us a fee and then they give us back part of it, and that's the $30,000 in revenue. Why do we have to have a contract?
I think for myself, Commissioner King, there's a cost to conversion, and that cost can be, driven by hardware, professional services, but also our time and efforts. Kelly had mentioned how long this took to get across the finish line, and these things are all administratively difficult. Change is somewhat problematic sometimes. I think we got a very good rate. We had 12 proposals, and from those proposals, GovPros offered us a 50-50 revenue share, which was compared to the incumbent, which was at 2.5. So some of these terms, I think, may not be available as we move into the future, and we see maybe changes in interest rates. Our fees to the public is 2.99%, which is very competitive. It was probably the lowest fee schedule offered of the 12. So I think when you get terms like this with very low transition and conversion costs, it's a good idea to capitalize on them.
Well, and it's not I think, Brad, you kind of hinted at this, but it's not an item you want to change every year. It is very difficult for the staff to switch vendors, the public's interaction via the website. I don't think it's an item that you want to just go year to year and pick a different vendor every year. It's a little bit like a banking relationship, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So you get the best pricing with a long-term contract, and also just it's an administrative burden to change systems like that too often.
I understand. My only thing is I hate credit card companies with a passion. And most of the public just don't realize that normally the retailer or whoever's swiping your card is paying that fee. But they come along.
Commissioner King, can I mention one thing? We
just a
work very hard with Brad Wilcox and the team for the county treasurer's office. We have always only had to pay $3.95 for a debit card. We were able to keep that for the majority of our people that are paying their taxes. That is a plus thing that was, I was very happy that Brad Wilcox and the team was able to negotiate that back in, because we had that with GovPay prior. So there are some things that the big, as I said, 2.3% or 2.3 million of that is the county treasurer. And I'd say, and Brad, help me on that, because you had the actual figures. Did it turn out to be about 70% of our people paying the bills were using debit cards?
That was 2/3.
Is it 2/3? Okay.
67%.
So that's a win-win, Commissioner King, for the people paying their taxes. And I just wanted you to know that I don't know that all of the counties around that work with different credit card companies. That's a win-win for our people.
We also leveraged that debit card at $3.95 to the other departments who didn't previously have it. So we kind of leveraged the treasurer's position, at the 2 million they were, and we have about another 1.2 million in other departments, mainly district court. We were able to get them the same debit card fee, which wasn't in existence before the end of that negotiation.
Right, and we have protections against them raising that fee within the next 5 years. But I'll also say, if the landscape changes, that's why we involve our corporation counsel to review the contract, and I'm sure we've got some sort of get out clause if things go horrible and it's not what we expected.
You have the floor. Would you like to finish?
Yes, thank you. So my point was, if the fees drastically decreased at this point, I would assume we're locked into what the fees are now. $3.95 doesn't sound unreasonable for a debit card. If you're paying $1,000 tax bill, most debit cards won't go that high, so it's going to be charged as credit anyhow. Just point of reference, I pay 60 cents for a debit card at my business. So the fees are all over the place. And whenever there's credit card processors involved, there's smoke and mirrors. I was just simply referring to the contract about, is there outs? And I'm sure there is, because Brad is brilliant at that kind of stuff. I just simply making sure. I'm sure there's outs and this kind of thing if something drastically goes awry. I appreciate all the feedback.
Thank you. Any other comments? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
that's 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B2 is another follow-up item to an ongoing grant project, and this is a contract with Hoffman Brothers for the construction of various components of our Albion Trailhead project. So this is the property that we acquired near the Albion College Equestrian Center through MDNR Trust Fund grants. So we acquired the property through grants, and we also received a development grant to cover our improvements, which include paved parking, the actual landscaping, a little bit of paved trail, some kiosks and signage, and then a little bit of furnishing. So pretty basic, but this was about a $326,000 contract. Again, grant funded out of a total $400,000 project that we've been reporting to you that was proposed in the initial development grant. So again, this is being managed by Jen Bamba and Doug Farrell of Community Development. Brad oversees that, and so he can answer any questions, but we're asking you to approve the construction contract with Hoffman Brothers. They were the only bid, and we have approval from the state to move forward with that, given sort of the unique nature of the project. And I think we had a little bit of delay last year due to COVID, and we're really anxious to just make this be a decent, not rustic, but not elaborate trailhead for the two trails within Albion that come together right there.
Can I have a motion to approve the Albion Trailhead construction contract with Hoffman Brothers as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Or Betty?
Tompkins and Betty, is there any discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Real quickly, Brad, maybe you can answer this, maybe you can. What's the timeline with everything now in place as far as an expected completion date for that trailhead to be completed? Just curious, because I know there's been a lot of delays with COVID and et cetera, et cetera. So just curious if you have at least a more definitive date than previous.
Yeah, I know it's expected. I talked to Doug and it's expected this season. So if we'd have waited and tried to rebid it, it would have been next year. So I'm thinking the fall kind of time frame.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
that's 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B3 are the monthly financial statements for the county. So this is year-to-date through April, 4 months into the fiscal year. A couple things I would highlight within the general fund. Really the biggest discrepancy is our charges for services. Our local revenues are still down compared to last year and compared to budget, mainly in the area of public safety and the jail. On the positive side, the revenue within the Clerk Register of Deeds office is up, mainly due to very positive real estate market. On the expense side, you will see some savings, about $500,000 of savings due to our management of the vacancies that were built into this year's budget, and also the furlough and work share program. That is helping to offset, really on the expense side, the only increase in expenditures from last year to this year is about a $2 million difference in our operating transfers out. And so that's just a timing difference. We do transfers out to funds, including our debt service fund, and it was made earlier this year. So that really accounts for the negative variance on the expense side. But again, we're seeing a positive savings that will last throughout the year on our personnel side. And then with the road department, a couple of things to highlight. The permits for this year are up about $40,000, mainly because last year there were no frost laws. And so this year, the road department did put in place the frost laws and required companies to apply for permits in order to sort of mitigate their ability to drive on those roads. We had $500,000 of revenue, one-time revenue this year from the sale of equipment. So the road department did sell a grader and the paver. And then we continue to just remind us that our winter maintenance for the first few months of the year was up about $100,000 over the winter season at the beginning of the year last year. So that's really all I would highlight through April.
I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County April 2021 financials as presented.
So moved.
Support Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion?
I got a question, Chair.
Yes, sir.
That for Kelly, it's that $40,000 we've got for revenue for permits from the frost laws. Does that go back in our road department for roads, or where does that money get spent?
It is included as revenue in the road department budget. So if there were, needed repairs, they would have that money available. But generally, this includes permits both from the frost laws and other permits. So yes, it would be available to correct any deficiencies. And then I think our permits also, if we can directly contribute any road problems to them driving on the roads, that's additional that we would go after for. This is really just the permit fee, the $40,000.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty.
Yes.
I have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Last item under new business tonight is 12B4. This comes from the recommendation of our treasurer, Brian Winsauer, which is why he's front and center tonight. And he is recommending the designation of a new main banking depository for the county. We've attached a lot of information, including a memo provided by the treasurer, describes what the state statutory authority is of the county treasurer, and also mentions that changing banks or designating the main bank that the county uses for our main banking relationship does require the board's approval. So all of that information was provided, and Brian is recommending that you approve the designation of Southern Michigan Bank and Trust to replace what was formerly Chemical Bank, what was formerly TCF Bank, and is soon to become Huntington Bank. So I'm really pleased and thankful that Brian does a really good job of watching the industry, watching the costs and the investment earnings that the county has as a result of our banking relationship. And I know all of those factors were taken into account. And so at this point, I'll tell you that as county administration, we support changing banks to Southern Michigan Bank and Trust. And I'm sure Brian will be happy to fill in the blanks or answer any questions.
A motion. It's going to have a motion to approve the designation of Southern Michigan Bank and Trust as the main banking depository for the Calhoun County as presented.
So move Tompkins.
Support King.
Tompkins and King, is there any discussion or question? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is citizens' time. The same rule will apply as during the first citizens' time. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and no negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note that there is an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Is there any citizens who would like to address their commissioners? Would anyone like to address their commissioners? Would anyone like to address their commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on. Commissioners' time. Any commissioners with comments tonight?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Sure. I'm going to go on a different little bit of a route this evening. Just want to wish my very firstborn daughter, Lauren Elizabeth, a very happy birthday today. Certainly as a firefighter in her community and everything she does, I'm very, very dad is very, very proud of her. So I just want to take that opportunity to wish her a very, very happy birthday. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else tonight?
Can I just mention something? I don't know if I didn't hear it today, but Julie, Pete, and Sam and Teresa Durham lost their mother. It was in the obituary, was in the paper today. I didn't hear anything mentioned at either our department head meeting or tonight. And I just wanted to mention that condolences to the whole family, because I've known the family for many years. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
I have something for commissioner time.
Go ahead, sir.
I've been getting a lot of compliments on the pothole patching. So whatever the road department's doing, keep it up. Today I had 2 people from Leroy. So I assume the patch crews are down in Leroy. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear, especially when you're beat up in the spring. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, if nobody else is going to say it, Gary Tompkins' birthday is next Tuesday. So
Yes, it is. Not quite to that number 5, that first 5 number yet. So we're getting close though, babe.
Don't speak about it like it's bad, Mr.
49 and holding. Happy birthday.
That's where I'll be in a couple days.
5-0 ain't bad, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right, we'll move on. Claims payable. Can I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County claims payable for April 30th, 2021 through May 13th, 2021 in the amount of $13,824,962.14 as presented?
So moved,
moved.
Smith.
Smith and Miller, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
That's 7 yes.
Motion carries. Any announcements for anybody?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Real quickly, the 7th District will be very busy this coming Memorial Day holiday as several events will be taking place to honor our fallen. First and foremost, in Albion, there will be a parade with a kickoff at 9 a.m. followed by a service at Riverside Cemetery. And in Homer, there will be a service held at the Very Fairview Cemetery at 10 a.m. So as we begin to open back up, we're starting to see these events start to take place. It's always good to be able to honor those who have fallen. And then finally, just want to take an opportunity to wish certainly my colleagues, everyone here, and all the residents a very pleasant Memorial Day weekend. As we know, Memorial Day is a time of reverence, gratitude, and recognition for all of those who will never again step foot on the free soil that gave their lives to defend us. So just want to make sure that everybody enjoys that holiday weekend and understands that the meaning of it. So certainly, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Just a reminder to the public that the May 28th meeting is also a Zoom meeting, and it is a public meeting for the American Rescue Plan discussions. So we'll see everybody next Friday. All right, if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.